Hello world, Wendy from Cali here, back with another Mixed Manny chat. Today, we are getting ready for a late lunch. And it's the day before Memorial Day, so I'm going to be using leftovers of Rock Stars and Firecracker for today's Manny. I'm also going to be knocking out Make Some Space, Negative Space, Bingo Square today. So that is the goal. I have been up super early since like 6 this morning on this lovely Sunday fun day, and the reason why is because I wanted to make sure I got in a bunch of my homemade goods completed before my brother and his family show up to go out for a late lunch. Originally, they were going to come around 12:30 or so, was what he had said, but this morning he let us know that the kiddos were still fast asleep, and so we don't ever want to wake kiddos up on a holiday weekend, so we're just waiting now. And what that means is I've got plenty of time to do my nails, so yay! That's why we're here. So yeah, I woke up this morning after an awesome night of karaoke fun with the Rents and Panda Bear. So I had connected the Magic Sing mic to the TV out in the living room because my mom and pops went to one of my cousin's red egg party for their firstborn child, and there was karaoke happening there. And after they attended that party, the Rents were like, hey, can you connect the Magic Sing mic? It's been like a long time since we've actually used this Magic Sing mic because nobody's really asked to use it. So it was really cool that my parents wanted to use it. So I connected it, and we've been using it periodically. My parents, more than Pan Bear and I, have been using it. But yesterday I was in the mood after taking a long nap to belt out a few songs. So first it was just my mom and me, and then Panda Bear joined in, and then Pops joined in too. So it was really fun. Panda Bear was the first one to drop out. He got really tired, and then my mom and Pops actually were up till like 1 in the morning singing. So that's really cool. I had tuckered out around like, I think it was like 11 or something like that. I didn't realize how late it was, so I feel bad for our neighbors. Hopefully they didn't hear all of us singing at the top of our lungs off key to a bunch of old songs. But if they did, nobody complained. Alright, so what I wanted to do with the Rock Stars, I wanted to use this hole punch and cut out little scalloped tips and then layer it with Firecracker for something that's easy but also still very festive and Memorial Day inspo. So hopefully they're not all gummy. It's looking like they're a little bit sticky, but we will make it work. So my brother and his family are actually coming up to attend a barbecue. One of my cousins is having a barbecue, and my brother and his family were invited, but my brother wanted to kill 2 birds with 1 stone by also treating my dad out for his birthday early, because I guess my brother and his family, they don't really have time to come around the weekend of my dad's actual birthday. And then by the time we wait a little longer, it's going to be Father's Day and then my sister-in-law Abby's birthday. So wanted to kind of isolate celebrating my dad's birthday. So that is what we're waiting to do. And this is really gummy. Oh man, this is going to be rough to get any of these strips out. So what I found out, I think it was my Color Street stylist Shannon who said if you take out all the air and don't leave a little bit, tiny bit of air when you're heat sealing the leftover strips, it could get way too sticky to be manageable. And so that's probably what happened with this set, but at least I finally got it. So let's see if we're able to make anything of it. Alright, let's get this down. I want to make sure it's laid flat so I can cut out what I need to cut out. Alright, so this past week I've actually been not feeling my best, and especially on Thursday I was not feeling well at all, which is a bummer because on Wednesday I was feeling alright. Like, I had a really nice lunch with my co-workers. They took me out as a birthday celebration because it was like our only time that we were able to celebrate my birthday. We've just been so busy at work, but they wanted to take me out, so we went to Honey's Kettle Chicken in Culver City, and I got to feast on fried catfish and fried chicken, hot cake, really good food. And I also purchased a family meal home for Panda Bear and the Rents to have as well. But the very next day I was not feeling very well at all, and I tried to do some work. I did log in normal time, but I swiftly had to log out within like 2 hours. I'll spare y'all the details, but I was very lethargic, wiped out, and let's just say having long conversations with the John. I'll just leave it at that. Anyways, so not a good day. Friday was significantly better, but I was also still very tired. So after work, Panda Bear and I had made dinner, which was a delicious steak. Panda Bear made steak. I made some roasted potatoes, kind of like wannabe French fries in the toaster oven. And then I also had made Panda Bear his tomato pies, which is basically just like homemade like pizza pie, but minus like cheese and stuff like that, because we're trying to keep it like low fat. So after the cooking and the eating, I completely passed out for like till the next day basically. And then Saturday was yesterday. Yesterday we had swim lessons for my nieces, and surprisingly the older one, Lilith, was not as afraid of the water as Amalika was. And in fact, Amalika was so afraid that she really couldn't finish her swim lesson. She just kept hanging on to the instructor like way too tight, and it was not basically there was like no learning to be done that way. She wasn't able to like let go and actually go through her lesson. So Lilith got more time to do her lesson, and she had a lot of fun. And so Lilith will be getting more swim lessons. Amalika, not quite sure yet. Undetermined until she lets us know whether or not she's going to be up to the challenge of doing the swim lessons. But the new swim instructor, her name's Janess, she recommended that the girls practice their breathing with pinwheels. So got to figure out where to go buy some pinwheels. But basically, they're supposed to learn to breathe out with their nose using the pinwheels so that they can see that the pinwheels are like moving from their breath. And that's supposed to help them understand to breathe out with their nose when they have their heads underwater. So that is their homework assignment until the next swim lesson, which I'm not quite sure when that will be. That is up to Panda Bear to schedule those. One really cool thing that happened, so Panda Bear follows this one sandwich shop called Corner Market in Glendale, and that is where I had my very first chopped cheese. If you guys don't know what chopped cheese is, it's like New York's version of a Philly cheesesteak, but it's basically hamburger meat chopped up and has cheese and onions and whatever. Basically, it's like a sandwich version of a cheeseburger. So really, really absolutely delicious. Anyways, the point of that story is the fact that Corner Market had something on Instagram where they were like, oh, guess when we first started offering sandwiches? If you guess right, you can get a free sandwich. Well, Panda Bear and I looked through the IG of Corner Market, and I was able to discern, or with detective work, that it was July of 2022 when they first started offering sandwiches. And so I had followed instructions, put a post about it, and I won. I was one of the winners. So I get to go collect on a free chopped cheese. I guess by showing the IG. Like, I don't know. We'll find out when Panda Bear and I actually go and collect on that chopped cheese, which will probably be later this week. And yeah, I'm excited. You know me, I love food and I love free, so that is gonna be amazing. And what else? What else? So I spent this morning, not only did I make new bars of soap, which again, if you haven't been watching this channel, you'll know that I like to make my own homemade soaps. This was something that Panda Bear got me started on. Actually, first was making beard oil for him, and that was the first homemade thing that I made. And then Panda Bear likes using bar soap, so he was like, whoa, do you think you can make your own bar soaps? And I was like, I don't know, let's see. So fast forward to almost a year later, and I've been making bar soaps. They're like goat milk bar soaps for the past almost year. I think July of last year was when I first started doing this. And the soap, it takes a bit of effort and time to make because it's all science, it's all chemistry. So to make the lye solution, you need sodium hydroxide in distilled water. And when you mix the sodium hydroxide with distilled water, it is like a chemical burn. Like, it is hot, like temperature wise hot. So you definitely don't want to accidentally get it on your skin or anything like that, because you will get burned. And it takes a bit of time for it to cool down. So the recipe that I follow says that you gotta wait till it's about 100 degrees before you add in the goat milk. And the goat milk is basically goat milk's basically made ahead of time into ice cubes and placed into the lye solution once it's decreased in temperature to about 100 degrees. And then you want that solution with the lye and goat milk to cool down to about room temperature. And then while you're waiting for it to cool down, you got to mix all of the oils. So the oils used, there's shea butter, there's, at least the recipe that I'm following has shea butter, coconut oil, olive oil, castor oil. So all of that is mixed together. The coconut oil and the shea butter is like solid, so you gotta melt it down. And then you mix that into the mix with the olive oil and castor oil. My bad, I just had a brain fart there. And then once all of that is to the right temperature, then you gotta mix that lye solution with the goat milk with all of the oils, the fats, and you gotta use an immersion blender and kind of like pulse the blender so that you're stirring it and also like mixing it until it becomes like a custardy consistency. And then at the end you add your essential oils that you want to add to it, and all of that gets placed into silicone, can't speak today, silicone modes, and then placed in the fridge for a day. And then after it's chilled in the fridge for like a day, then you take it out and you leave it out for another 4 days, and then you knock them out of the silicone molds, and then you let them air dry in a dark cool spot for about 6 weeks. And so while you're letting them dry and cure, you gotta check and just weigh them so you can see how much water is being released from the bars of soap. Basically, when it stops like losing water so much, that's when you know for sure that it is time to, like, they're ready for use. So it takes about 6 weeks of that process. So it's not an overnight thing, and waiting for the lye solution to get to the right temperature takes a hot minute. So that's why I was up since 6 this morning, because I wanted to make sure I got all of that done before my brother and his family showed up and we go out to lunch. Didn't know my brother and his family were going to come really late, so it kind of worked in my favor because now I get to do my nails here. My nails got wrecked, like completely wrecked, with all of the hand washing I did. So I made those bars of soap, as I was mentioning. I also attempted to make homemade shampoo. Woo! Bless me. I apologize. These videos, they're recorded, you know, live. Like, I don't make any edits and everything like that. So whatever happens, happens. And I really had to sneeze there. So I probably blew out all y'all's ears. And my apologies. But, yeah. So I also attempted to make my own homemade shampoo. As well as conditioner. Since I already had all the soap ingredients out, I was like, you know, I have the essential oils and these ingredients. Might as well just knock it all out. So I did that. I also made a sugar face scrub for Panda Bear because he is really good at, like, taking care of his skin. I am one that needs to work better at taking care of my skin, but I usually take his lead, and if he's asking for something specific for his skin and I'm able to make it, I will make it, and then I will also use it. And on top of all of that, I wanted to also finish baking the pandan crinkle cookies that I had made earlier. Was it this week or was it the last week? Everything's blending together, honestly. I'm pretty sure it was earlier this week. But I had leftover dough for the pandan crinkle cookies, and I really wanted to make sure I had some made for my niece Emmeline and my nephew Maximus, because I know that they'll like cookies. So yeah, that's pretty much what I did all this morning. I did try out the homemade shampoo and conditioner after finishing up on everything. The texture of my hair feels way different, so I don't know if I like it or not. So I'll keep you guys posted on whether or not it's a success or a failure when it comes to that homemade shampoo and conditioner. Alright, but I am very happy to have a 3-day weekend, because it's just been a lot of stress with work, and I just need a break. And I promised myself that I would, when I clocked out on Friday, I would not look back until Tuesday. And so far I've done pretty well with that. We shall see. Panda Bear and I actually have tickets to go see the new Mission Impossible movie tomorrow, so I'm super excited about that. He and I have attempted to watch the first part of it, which we had seen in the theaters back in 2023 when it had come out in the theaters. We attempted to watch the first part earlier in the week, but was just too dang tired. So we're gonna attempt to do that again, probably tonight. Okay, I gotta get this plastic off or else it's not gonna work. Here we go. There we go, got it. Okay, so yeah, I just remember, like, when we watched the first part in the theaters in 2023, it was just so amazing. The action was great. Uh, we were like, no, when we found out that, like, it ended basically knowing that there's going to be another movie. And we're finally here to the time when the next part of it is out in theaters. So that is what I get to enjoy with Panda Bear tomorrow. We're also going to attempt to go to the gym tomorrow because today was just, it wasn't going to happen. Like, I was just way too busy this morning, and not knowing that my brother was going to be coming later than normal, we had thought we had to be ready. Actually, but you know, it's already past the time that we were supposed to be ready with the original plan. So we're going to do the gym tomorrow. But yeah, that is pretty much catching up to the whole week since the last video. I have been listening to audiobooks as well as reading books, like ebooks. And I do want to say that I just realized that this is going to cover up like a lot of the design. Okay, let's take a look and see what that's going to look like. Let's see what that's going to look like. The last book that I listened to on audiobook was actually, so Christina Lauren, they're two authors that work together and write books. I mentioned it in the, I think it was the last video, that I had read the books out of order. The True Love Experiment and Soulmate Equation. Well, one of my library apps, the Libby app, had the True Love Experiment on audiobook. So I had read the ebook for both of them. Oh yeah, that's going to cover up the whole design. I am definitely not going to do that. Okay, we are scrapping using Firecracker because I do not want to cover up this design. I think it's beautiful on its own. So we are going to pivot. Call an audible. Sorry, that one gets wasted. But let's close this one up and close this up. And what we're going to do instead is we are going to use one of Stacy's sparkle sauce on top, because that's going to be better than covering it all up with Firecracker. I didn't realize it was going to be so dense. So those of you that are into Color Street and you bought the Firecracker set, just know that the glitter is pretty dense. So you probably don't need anything underneath it if you are just going to do, you know, like a glitter dipped mani. You definitely won't need a tip. I thought I needed a tip because I don't like, I'm one of those that's really picky with my nails. Like, I don't like the white tips showing on my nails. Unless it's like, you know, a French tip. And so I like covering up like I did with this. And didn't know that that glitter dip was going to be so thick. So we are not going to use it. Instead, we are going to pull out, let's see, probably Daydreams. And sea glass? No. Okay, so we are going to use Thanks a Million-ish and probably Daydreams is probably going to look the closest. Ooh. Yeah, those are probably going to be it. Okay, so let's do that. I know this one has some purples in it, but that's okay. Still get a good feel for Memorial Day. So, True Love Experiment. Alright, so again, I like to read or listen to Schmidt. And every time I'm listening to an audiobook, when I have fallen asleep, and when Panda Bear ends up coming into the room, it seems like every single time, without fail, the audiobook is on a very racy scene. Like, without fail. So it always looks like I am listening to, like, almost like pornographic, like, stuff. Which is not. Like, if any of you have read, like, chick lit, you'll know that it's not all the scenes, but there are scenes typically in those books that are a bit racy. And so, like I said, almost always without fail, when Panda Bear walks into the room, that's usually when the book is like, alright, let's give Panda Bear a show. Let's make Wendy seem very guilty and perverted. So yeah, fun stuff. The other book that I'm reading, so Colleen Hoover, the author who wrote It Ends With Us, as well as It Starts With Us, there's a, I guess, 3-part series starting with a book called Slammed. And I just finished that first book, and I'm moving on to the second one. And I don't know. So far, it's been good. I have a hard time finding time to be able to read during the work week. I will sometimes take my lunch break and read a little bit, but oftentimes my lunch break is not like a full-on hour lunch break, and so not much time to do very much reading. So hoping to get some time to read, but this weekend's kind of just flying by, so I'll have to like read in between, like when we're waiting for something. I can probably do a little bit of reading at that point, but if you guys have any suggestions for books to read, I very much like, so Abby Jimenez is an author that some of the Nail friends have recommended, and I really liked her books. I also very much liked the way Colleen Hoover writes, so right now I'm enjoying her books. I had finished a book by Rebecca Yarros, which was also kind of really cool, a little different than the normal chick lit books. This one's more like a cross between like How to Train a Dragon and maybe like Hunger Games. I don't know how to describe it, but I'm waiting for the next book to come out for that one. And then Zodiac Academy. So I watch Mr. Kate, and one of their videos in the background, she had all of her like books that she had in one of her rooms, and it was Zodiac Academy, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. What is that? So I read the first book in that series and am waiting for my library apps to have the other books available so that I can continue with those stories. So those are interesting books as well. But yeah, anything along those lines would be really cool, especially if it's available like at the local library on the library apps or whatever. I like maximizing on low budget or free reads. I'm still anticipating one of my favorite authors who lives in Canada. Her name is Heather Wardell. I'm anticipating her next book coming out. I think she had said it was going to be this year. And so I'm just like waiting and waiting. Her books I'm willing to pay money for, but only because it's like literally like if you order it when it first comes out, it's like 99 cents. So super affordable. I have all of her books and I've read them more than once already. And so I really like that she kind of incorporates characters from her other books like into her other books. So like you've got like Easter eggs, guest appearances, all of that good stuff in the books. And I like that because also Abby Jimenez has done that with her books. And the 2 books I read from Christina Lauren were also like that. So I like when there's recurring characters. It's really fun to see those. So yeah, if there's any like series of books or whatever where there's like reoccurring characters that's worth a read, comment below. Would love to, explore new authors that I haven't heard of yet. So yeah. Alright, I just got one more top coat that I'm going to put on. Don't be jealous. Stacy's Sparkle Sauce. But I'm out of like things to talk about, and I won't bore you guys with a clear top coat. This is basically the finished mani, and I'm loving it for what I need it for this week. Memorial Day's tomorrow, so this is feeling very festive to me. And yeah, I will say firecracker for the 4th of July, because now I know I can wear that on its own. If you watched all the way through, thanks for watching. I know today's been kind of like weird energy, only because I've been up since 6 and I need more coffee. So if you watched it all the way through, please comment below with the American flag, because Memorial Day is tomorrow, and I'll know that you watched the whole video. You can also leave any comment you like. Love reading the comments, and I try to respond to the comments when I can. And yeah, like, subscribe, share, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.